everybody. I'm Meg Grasso with the Meg Grasso Group. Today I'm with Stephanie Bordner of our home sale insurance team. She is a veteran in the insurance industry. She's been in the business for over 20 years in one capacity or another. She's been in the home sale insurance business for about 9 years, and she's been with us here at Home Sale Insurance with Berkshire Hathaway for about the last 3 years. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today here for our little chit chat. So tell me, what kind of insurance products do you offer through Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Insurance?
Well, the primary thing that we deal with is homeowners and auto and umbrella insurance.
Umbrella insurance.
Umbrella insurance is basically a liability-only policy. And you kind of think of it like an umbrella because it covers over home and auto. So, your home and your auto both have liability built into them, but they have a limit. So if you want extra liability, you can buy an umbrella policy, which goes over and above what those two policies have on them. We also have things we're able to cover your toys, like motorcycles, RVs, ATVs, boats, all those little toys that we buy later in life. and so we can do those. We can also do commercial insurance. So if you have your own business and maybe those premiums are getting a little high and you want that looked at, we can do that. I myself personally don't do those, but we do have a producer who is a commercial producer, and she can take care of those within our agency. And then we can do dwelling fire policies, which would be like your landlord. So if somebody is buying rentals and needs to insure those, we can do that. And life insurance, we can do that too.
Okay, great. So you have quite the package available for people. Now, must you be a home buyer or a home seller with home sale to take advantage of these services?
No, you don't have to. I mean, that's where we get a lot of our business from, since we are connected with the real estate company. But we can help anybody. In fact, whenever I do write policies for our home buyers, I tell them, it's a great compliment to refer your friends or family to me. So we can help anybody.
Okay, great, wonderful. And of course, you mentioned about being able to bundle home and auto. Is that something that you find people doing more and more of, or is it better for them to do separate policies?
It does provide a really nice discount to bundle your home and your auto. I'm not going to say it's always the best, because I have seen circumstances where an insurer that only will insure homes actually does have a really good price for somebody, where the home and auto, the home was a little higher. So I'm not going to say 100% of the time it's the best to put them with the same company. Frequently it is because of that discount, but sometimes we do see nice rates to put them with different companies. So it just kind of depends on the insured and the home.
Okay, great. Now, what are some extra things to think about when a home buyer is purchasing a home and they're looking at the different aspects of their home? What are some things to keep in mind when they're talking to you about the kind of policy that they need?
When you're considering purchasing a home, I will tell you, hands down, the most important thing to consider is the roof. The age of the roof is vital information. And I would say a lot of times I'm finding that the seller is not aware of how long ago the roof was replaced. So it is a little bit of guesswork. You may need to rely on the inspector that goes out there to see, what do they say is the age of the roof left on there. Because I will tell you that the insurance companies almost all of them are going to go out, or they're not them themselves, but they're going to hire an inspector to go out and take a look at that roof. They may not necessarily get up on the roof, but they are going to possibly use a ladder, take some close-up photos. They're going to be looking for things like missing shingles, nail pops, things like that. And if there are issues like that, if it's just a few missing shingles, they can report to the insurance company, oh, they just need to replace some shingles, or they just need to pop some of those nails down. But if it is truly worn, a very old roof, they could report that that roof needs to be replaced.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting to know.
Yeah, and if so, if they report that and the insurance company agrees, then you could be looking at having to do that within the first 60 days of that policy effective date, which is also the day that you settle.
Okay.
And that might not be something that you want to have to do immediately after moving and just gone through all the expense of purchasing that home. So the roof is just vital. You really want to make sure that there's some life left in that roof. And if it looks like it's really old, that may be something you want to build into your offer. That look, I may have to replace this roof. So
Right.
another thing is swimming pools. They're not a
Yes.
problem.
Okay.
Swimming pools are not a problem. You could find a little bit harder time if you have a diving board. Not every company will take pools with a diving board. Some will, some won't. Slides don't always tend to be an issue. We don't see them very often, but some pools do have a slide. Another thing is trampolines. If you're going to have a trampoline at your home, some are going to require that the yard be fenced.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
not all companies, but some are going to want a fence around the yard. Others may not require a fence, but they're going to require that the trampoline be netted.
Okay. You see a lot of that nowadays, the netting
Right,
around the
right.
trampoline.
And if you ever wonder why, just watch America's Funniest Videos and see how many people fall off of trampolines, and then you'll know it's really a liability issue.
Okay.
Other things to think about.
What about pets?
Yeah, not necessarily with the house so much, but with your own circumstance, your dogs. Dogs are a huge deal for insurance companies because your homeowner's policy covers you for dog bite claims,
Oh, wow.
which I did not know when I became a homeowner, but I learned because I had a German Shepherd.
Okay.
So there are a few dog breeds that are going to make your policy a little harder to place. The ones that I see the most of are pit bulls, also called American Staffordshire Terrier, Dobermans, Rottweilers, Mastiffs, Presa Canarios, Chow Chows. Usually those bigger breeds or breeds that have a reputation for being a little more aggressive,
Okay.
or like with the case of a pit bull, they're not really huge, but they have so much power. They can do a lot of damage in a small package.
Right.
So
Even though even though the homeowner isn't raising it to be aggressive, it's just the stigma of the breed, really.
right. And
Okay.
I'm a huge dog lover. I hate having to turn people away because they have a certain breed. But really, if you ever wonder about it, just Google dog bite insurance claims and you will understand why they have to be careful about what breeds they allow.
Right. And is that something that home sale insurance that they'll do their best to work with the buyer on their insurance to see if you can possibly get coverage? Oh, I just lost sound on you. Hold on. Do I have you? Oh, it muted. Unmute. There we go. Oh, nope. Still can't hear you.
Okay, how about now?
There we go. Now we got you. And we can always edit this out.
Okay. Yeah, we will work with people as best we can. We have a lot of different insurance companies that we work with, and they each have their own list.
Okay.
So while a German Shepherd might not be allowed with this carrier, maybe this one does. So it's basically kind of using the underwriting guidelines and narrowing down our selections as to who you qualify to go with if you have that dog. So we'll do our best to accommodate any breeds. I mean, there's some that we may just not be able to find an option for, and it's not like if that's the case that you're out of luck, like you're never going to get insurance. That's not the case. It's just that it just happens to be that the carriers that we work with, we don't have an option with, but there are certainly others out there.
Okay. Now, what are some things that you can do to lower your insurance policy? What about like smart homes? That's the big thing with security and all of that. Does that help your insurance policy at all?
Sure. If you have, a smart home, you've got a central alarm system that's being, they're monitoring for burglary or fire. Those are discounts that can be applied. The central station alarm, if you got like ADT, for instance, that company will provide you with a certificate showing exactly what they're monitoring. So all you have to do is email that to us. We can apply the discount, and we can keep your certificate on file too, for you, so that if you lost it or something, you still have that. We can have it here in our agency. So there's, yeah, a lot of nice discounts that can be applied. Even if the home has, like the one I quoted today, the home had sprinklers. And that's going to be a newer home, but that is also a discount if they have a sprinkler system, and all they are going to ask for proof is for you to take a picture of the little nozzle that comes in the ceiling. So yeah,
It's not hard to prove those discounts or to
nope.
prove that you have them. That's really good to know. Now, what is something that you want to make sure when you're looking at your policy and you're looking at the things that you need? And I know when I've worked with you on always in the past, when you're working with my clients, you always make sure that, they're comparing apples to apples. And I know there's always, the liability and the coverage and things like that. So what is something that you want to make sure when they're looking at their policy that they do not want to miss out on?
It's really important to max out your liability coverage on your policy. It's literally a few dollars a year different from 1,000 or 100,000 versus 500,000. So max it out. We don't even sell anything less than 500,000 just because it only makes financial sense to do that. Some of the people that are purchasing homes are first-time home buyers. Maybe they are coming straight from living with their parents. Maybe they were on their own, but they have only ever rented. In which case, you may not know all the things about a homeowner's policy. So that's really important to select good coverage. Don't just go for the premium. As much as you may want to when you're having to spend money on so many different things when you're purchasing a home. I always tell people the coverage might not be important to you on the day you purchase the policy, but when you're standing there looking at what used to be your home that burned to the ground, your coverage is going to be extremely important to you at that point.
Right.
So don't purchase bad coverage to save $30 a year.
Okay.
Another thing is purchasing water backup coverage. Every policy, homeowner's policy that home sale sells has water backup coverage. It
Water
may
backup coverage.
Right. That is basically for, let's say you have a sump pump failure, and instead of water leaving the home, it starts backing up into the home, like your basement area. Um, that type of thing, while the cause of the backup is not something that is going to be covered under a homeowner's policy, the damage that whatever it is that backed up into the home, whether it be water, sewer, whatever, the damage that liquid does to your contents, that would be covered under water backup coverage. That is not something that automatically comes on a homeowner's policy. You have to endorse it on in order to have that coverage. Same thing with earthquake. That is not something covered by a homeowner's policy. Same thing with sinkhole. Now, these things may not happen as much in certain areas as they do in others, but maybe you have buyers in Palmyra.
Yep,
You
a lot of those.
have a sinkhole issue in that area, and if you don't know that your homeowner's policy you just purchased doesn't cover that, that's something that you need to be aware of, that you need to add that coverage to the policy. I know myself, and I think other insurers or other agents at home sale do automatically add that when we see that a house is in Palmyra, just because we know how often that happens there. But
that's one of the suggestions I always give my Palmyra buyers or in this area is make sure you talk to your insurance agent about sinkhole coverage, whether you think you need it or not. It's minimal. If I remember, it's a couple of dollars a month, if anything.
Yeah.
And the coverage that it gives you is worth it, especially if one crops up.
That's right. Yep. It's also really important to make sure you're purchasing replacement cost for your dwelling and for your contents, because you want to be able to rebuild that home at current values, not depreciated value or market value, which we can talk about that a little bit later, but that's something that it's important to make sure that you have that as well. We also put identity theft coverage on policies. We were doing that for years, but it seems like now it might be even more important than ever because of how much traffic there is online right now due to our situation. So
that's great advice. I never even thought about having identity theft coverage as part of my homeowners policy. So that's really interesting. Now you brought up a really good topic, and I know here in Central PA, it's not a matter of if your basement floods, it's when your basement floods. So flood insurance, talk to me a little bit about that. I know there's a lot of questions on it. It used to have the stigma that it is really expensive. So what about today, in today's market?
it is typically more expensive than a homeowner's policy.
Okay.
That's been my experience when I give somebody a homeowner's quote. If they need a flood quote, what I'm finding is it's generally more expensive than the homeowners.
Okay.
So flood insurance basically covers physical losses caused by floods, erosion, severe rainstorms, flash flooding, hurricanes, snow melt, things like that. Not stuff that generates from within the home. It's water coming from outside into the home. So flood insurance is offered by the federal government. It's a government program known as National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP. They set the rates. The government sets the rates. So shopping and trying to compare is not necessary. In fact, flood insurance is unique in that it can be transferred from a seller to a buyer. Unlike home or auto, which that cannot be transferred, that is specific to the buyer. since flood insurance is a government program, the rate is the rate. So there's no reason that it couldn't be transferred from one person to another. If the lender, if your mortgage company is not requiring flood insurance because your home is not in a high-risk flood zone, then there is a standard 30-day wait in order to put that policy into effect. There's also a limit of $250,000 in coverage on your dwelling on a flood policy. If you would need to purchase more than that, you can purchase flood insurance from a private flood insurer. Just a note of caution, though, that some lenders will not take private flood insurance. They want NFIP.
Okay. Now, what happens if, say, I buy a house that's sitting on 2.5 acres and the house is sitting well above the flood zone, but the back end of my property goes down to a creek? Do I still need flood insurance with that, or how does that work?
Basically, the answer that I can give you is that the requirement for flood insurance is only going to come from your lender. The government doesn't require you to have flood insurance. Insurance companies aren't going to require it. Your realtor is not going to require it. The only person that cares whether or not you have it is the person lending you the money for that house. So if they have the final say, if the mortgagee does their flood zone lookup and they determine that they want flood insurance, you must purchase it.
Interesting. So it's not that everybody thinks, oh, well, it's in the flood zone, the government's requiring me to have it. No, it's actually the mortgage company that's requiring it. Interesting. All right. So we've covered a lot of topics here, and I definitely think we could dive in a little bit deeper on some more of these in the future. But do you have anything else you'd like to share with our folks out there today?
Just a couple tips. The better your credit score is, the better insurance rate you're going to get. Pretty much the same thing with a loan. You get a better interest rate if you have a better credit score. It's the same thing with insurance. Now, insurance companies, when they check your credit, they're not going to do the same type of check that a loan officer is going to do. It's considered a soft check. It does not affect your credit score. It does not change anything. It's not going to change your score, change your credit, anything like that. They're just simply looking to see what kind of pay history you have. Kind of the same way that whenever you would get a cell phone, they check your credit. That same type of check. The better results that they get, the more favorable your rate is going to be. That's one thing to keep in mind. Another good thing is don't be inclined to turn in small claims. If you have a $500 deductible and your claim is $600, is it really worth it for that $100 to turn in a claim and now have that adversely affecting your policy for a few years?
Right.
Little things like that. It's kind of better to think of insurance as, at least for the homeowners insurance, as to be for more of a catastrophic type of loss, rather than nickel and diming them to death. A lot of small claims can be tedious over time and adversely affect your premium. So just little things like that to keep in mind. And like we said, the newer the roof, the better. So keep a close eye on that.
Good. And if you replace your roof, definitely make a call to your insurance company to have them update your policy accordingly. So
right. If when you purchased your home, your roof was 25 years old, and in 3 years you replace it, call them and tell them. You probably will get a discount on your existing policy then.
That's fantastic. Well, that's excellent advice. I appreciate everything. And I know we're going to be talking to you again soon. If anybody out there has any questions for Stephanie, her contact information will be here, and you can reach out to her directly, or you can reach out to me at the Meg Grasso Group. We are here to help you anytime you need insurance, home buying, home selling. That's what we're here for. So thank you, Stephanie, so much for being here with us. I appreciate all the advice. We will be talking to you again soon.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Take care.
Yep.